Welcome to this yoga session for lower back pain. We're going to be using the wall today to help us get deeper into the stretches. So set your mat up in the corner of a room and make sure that there's no obstacles around. I'm going to start by coming into a lunge position and drawing the hips back and then forwards so that we're alternating between a hamstring stretch and then a hip flexor stretch on the other side. So as you draw the hips back, lengthen through the back of the leg, and as you draw the hips forward, squeeze with the opposite glutes with the bum. Matching this rhythm with your breath. So it's an inhale as you come forwards, and then an exhale as you draw back and lengthen the back of the left leg. Next time you come forwards, lift up through the torso. We're going to stay in a low lunge here. So grounding through the right knee and drawing up from that rooting point all the way through to the top of your head. Hands can rest on the left thigh. Keep the back of the neck long, tucking the chin. And then using the hands on the thigh, press your body back and away from the front of the right hip. So you really want to create length and space from the bottom of the right knee all the way up through the hip, through the front of the abdomen, squeezing that right glute forwards to help open further. And then releasing, bringing the hands down. We'll come to tabletop. Just take a few hip circles here, so you can go as slow as you like. You can go forwards and backwards or round in a circle. There's not really any right or wrong, just free off the spine and allow yourself to move in a way that feels good and fluid. And then we're coming into that hip flexor hamstring duo on the other side. So step the right foot forwards and start to rock forwards and back with the hips using your breath. Bringing the hips back, lengthening the right hamstring, and then bringing the hips forwards, squeezing through the left glutes so that you open the front of that left hip. It's optional to lift the toes off the floor as you come back through the heels, so you could explore keeping the foot fully on the mat if that's available to you. And as you lift the toes, maybe you can play with spreading them, just finding what other sensations are there. Now into our low lunge, hands onto the thighs, rooting into the left knee, drawing up through the front of the pelvis and pulling your rib cage back away from the front knee. Front of the pelvis is lifted, back of the pelvis is pushed forward by a light squeeze in the bum. And remembering to breathe the whole time. Smooth, steady breaths. Counting in for 5 and out for 5. We'll take one more breath here. And then starting to find our way back down towards hands and knees, ready to release the spine again. So stepping the knee back into tabletop, and you just swish and sway the hips. If you want to, you could just bring the hips towards the relative shoulders, so you're creating like an S bend through the spine. Let the head get involved as well and loosen off through the neck and the upper back. You can circle the neck or swish it side to side, shake your head like a no, and then nod your head like a yes. Whatever feels freeing for the whole back. Just go with whatever fluid movements feel good. And then tucking the toes, find your way up to standing, walk the hands back in. We're going to turn around now and face the wall for the next stretch, which is like a downward facing dog but at the wall. So you want to have your feet underneath your hips, which means you'll need to step reasonably far back. Hands are in line with the hips, so don't want to have them too high or too low. And then just take a few breaths to find the stretch in the hamstrings here. Keeping your head in line with your biceps, keeping the back neutral and long. Use your hands to press your hips back and into the stretch in the back of the legs. And as always, focusing on your steady breath, counting in for 5 and out for 5. I'm going to start to add a little movement through the spine now. So like a cat-cow, you're going to round through the spine and look at your thighs. And as you inhale, look up as you lower the lumbar curve. waving through that motion, creating movement through the whole back, tipping the pelvis, rolling the lumbar spine, and then feeling the rib cage moving as well. So we do about 10 rounds of this, letting your movement be guided by the breath. Remembering to look down as your body arches up and look up as your belly arches down. Exhale, spread the shoulders. Inhale, lift up through the front of the chest, exploring the full range of movement through the back. We'll just take one more round of these, and then keeping the hands on the wall, let's bring our spine back to neutral. We're going to take a little extra stretch for the back of the legs. You can release your head off first if you need to, and then take the left foot back. Take a bend in the right knee so that the majority of your weight is pressing back into the left heel. And this is opening up into the calves, right down that whole back line of the body. And then switching sides, step the right foot back, release any weight from your left foot. So all of your weight now pressing back through the hands towards that right heel. Breathing into any stretch sensation that you have in the right calf. Let's just take one more deep breath. And then release here and walk yourself carefully back in. And take a forward fold now to open up the upper back. Bend your knees and rest your tummy on your thighs. And just take a few shakes of the head again to release any tension in the neck. Nodding yes. And also shaking the head no. And then allowing the whole upper body to hang heavy, releasing anything that's holding on. Make sure you've got a nice bend in the knees so that there's no strain in the back of the legs. You can bend as deep as you need to. An option to take the hands interlaced onto the back of the head and gently just using the weight of the hands. You're not pulling, but the weight of the hands might create a nice little bit of extra stretch in the upper back. Just allow that stretch to seep into the muscles. Breathe into the release. And then carefully starting to take the hands down, give yourself a little shake out. And we'll roll up super slow, taking your time to bring the body up one vertebra at a time. Take a moment to stand in the new stillness and lightness that you have in the body. Reconnect with your breath, and then let's prepare to move towards the wall for our next flow, which is going to be a modified wall sit. So you'll bring your back to the wall and slide down, hips level with the knees. So you want to feel that there's a gap between your back and the wall, and we're going to be working the front of the core, drawing in from there to flatten that gap. Make sure your knees stay above your ankles, and focus on the very lower part of the abdomen, pulling back as you exhale. As you inhale, you allow the arch of the back to come back, and then as you exhale, you pull the abdomen towards the wall so that that arch disappears. So flowing with the breath, pulling back on exhales, inhales allowing the arch of the back, exhales drawing towards the wall. Keeping the shoulders nice and relaxed. Feet strong base for you to really move through the pelvis. Let's do one more rep of this, and then you'll be happy to know we can just slide down the wall and release. So we're going to stretch out the legs after that work that they've just been doing. Extend the right leg and bring the left foot across. You might need to put that foot on a book or a block, and your intention is to bring the left knee up and in towards the body, squeezing that knee inwards and upwards as you take a gentle twist towards the left shoulder. So keep the right foot extended and active, spread the toes, and as you inhale each time, see if you can lengthen up through the top of the head, lengthen the back. As you exhale, hug that left knee in closer towards you, and it's almost like you want to pull the knee up and away from the rooted hip socket that you have down on the mat. Just be sure to keep that hip socket down, hip bone down, connecting with the floor, so you're not tempted to lift that up and over. And then coming back to center, You can take that left foot away as we switch sides. So make sure you've got your back right against the wall, bring your right foot across the body, and then twisting towards the right shoulder. Your left leg is extended now, so thinking about keeping that left leg active, you want to spread the toes, press out through the heel, and then relax into this. As long as you can feel some opening into the right thigh, the right hip, just relax everything else and breathe into that sensation in the hip. Keeping a nice pressure on the arms against the leg the whole time. So you might need to readjust and draw that knee upwards, binding with the hands or the wrists. And let's just take a few more breaths here before unraveling. Extend that leg away. And we'll start to move into position for our last posture, which is a really relaxing restorative pose, Viparita Karani. You're going to come up next to the wall with your knees facing alongside the wall. Wiggle your bum as close as you can and then swivel your legs up against the wall. So this one is really simple. You can either rest your hands on your tummy to connect with your breath here, or if you would like to open up the front body a bit more, you can extend the arms overhead. But just be mindful, if there's any arching in the back by taking the arms overhead, then you would be better off keeping those hands on the tummy. So this is a really passive restorative pose. You don't need to be thinking about stretching or spreading or reaching anything, just allowing gravity to do the job here for you. Allowing the weight of the legs to be felt right down in the pelvis. And notice how the back of the hips feel with that rooting weight of the legs sitting down upon them. And start to notice how the grounded feeling in the pelvis affects the curve of your lower back. Intending to let the whole back body become as heavy as the weight of the legs. And all the while maintaining deep rhythmic breathing. So you're counting to 5 on your inhales and counting to 5 on your exhales. You can stay here as long as you like. 4 to 6 minutes is ideal, so feel free to pause the video here and stay longer. When you're ready, just bend the knees into your chest. Take a little roll over to one side and then gently come on up. Bring yourself to any seated position and just take a moment to settle into your spine as you're now upright. Just feel any difference in the body having completed this practice. And as you breathe in, lengthen your spine up through the crown of your head. As you breathe out, soften through your shoulders. Let's bring the hands together, taking a moment to recognize how grateful our bodies are when we move and when we trust them. You can bow the head and thank yourself for making time for you and your body today. Namaste.